You're listening to your brain on air. The program will begin shortly. Enjoy.
Posloucháte svůj mozek na vzduchu. Program začne brzy. Užijte si.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Your Brain on Air. I am your host, Ollie Vogt Larson. Happy Wednesday. Who do you think, folks, will have the crystal ball first? Place your bets right now, because the AI race for a system capable of accurately predicting a range of future events is only going to heat up from here, folks. We got heavy hitters, the US, China, Russia, Israel, India, UK, Japan, all the heavy hitters on the world stage that are big enough to be able to afford a single state-sponsored data center. They're all throwing their hats into the ring. This race is literally all about creating a literal Palantir. These world leaders, and bankers, tech giants, they want to gaze into it. They want to see what the future holds and then psychically and physically influence the present around them, thus then altering and controlling the future. And then as a result of all time, that will all fall under their dominion. This is the game plan, if you don't already know. The AI, they want it good enough to the point where it can get to the point where it'll predict people's actions around them. This is what the data race is all about. There will be a massive war to destroy all free will that we essentially all have. All these men and women in these high positions of power are going to try to unleash the first supercomputer equivalent to God, which it's going to run on all inputs that we as humans are going to give it via the digital ID. The UK has already rolled that out for all of its citizens. It's coming to the United States soon. I know many people are saying it's the mark of the beast. Yeah, that's the point. They want you on the mark of the beast. They want you on the beast seminar, excuse you. Tracking systems on our phones, cars, everything. Eye movement trackers on your front cameras of your phones. It's all there, all of that. They are using the microphones right now on whatever device you're listening to this right now to create a digital layout of whatever room, car, any space you're in. They have the sonogram waves to prove it. The CIA's had this technology for years. This AI will be able to know your thoughts. They have a device that can monitor brain waves and know words or ideas that are in your head that literally the brain sends electromagnetic waves to your vocal cords, whether or not you plan to say a word, just in preparation. And they are able to read that, and about 80% accuracy, they can tell what you're thinking in your head. And eventually, if they can read the waves of the brain waves, what's going to stop them from inputting their own waves? So eventually, this is the game plan. I'm just going to give you a glimpse into the future. This will be all of our neurons powering the creation and sustaining this super hive mind of humanity, probably locally, I'm guessing, operated in Jerusalem. At least that's where they want the world order to be operated from. Thus, then you have the end of consciousness, the end of individuality, the end of free will to issue in the new world order, the one global government, equal in all men's eyes to God. Shark Tank is a good show, ladies and gentlemen. Robert Herjavec was always my favorite shark, but lately Mr. Terrible himself, Kevin O'Leary, has been kicking up a storm, if you haven't heard, in Utah lately over his attempt to get in with this global government shit. He wants to be, first in line, because admittedly, when you're paying for the system and you're part of the crew that's gazing into the big crystal ball and you're like, yeah, we're slaves to the technology too, but at least we feel like we're a part of the plan. You know what I mean? He wants to be a part of that crew. So he wants to see a rise in the night temperatures in Utah by 28 degrees, the day temps by 5 degrees. By the way, this 62 square mile new data center would be equivalent to setting off 23 atom bombs per day, according to some studies that we're seeing over the skies of Utah, thus raising, like I said, 28 degrees for the night temps and day temps by 5 degrees, just on average. Let's cover why this may be a bad idea, ladies and gentlemen. I normally am on the side of billionaires. I think they push our society forward, but you know what? Let's cover why this may be tough for me to defend this one in particular. A chaotic scene has unfolded in Box Elder County this week, Utah, as a high-stakes meeting over a massive AI data center. The biggest in the world, that actually is what it would be. 62 square miles is what we're hearing, ladies and gentlemen. And it's being run by the real-life Willy Wonka, as we all know him to be, Kevin O'Leary, ladies and gentlemen. 62 square miles of beautiful AI data centers will soon be stretched. It's called the Stratos Project, across the deserts of Utah. This has ended in a pretty contentious private vote. Hundreds of protesters packed into the room to voice concerns over this project, a 9-gigawatt facility that would consume more power than the entire state of Utah. The situation turned so volatile that that the three county commissioners that were voting on it were forced to adjourn to a secure side room. From there, they conducted the remainder of the meeting virtually and ultimately voted unanimously to approve the project, sparking outrage from the community members left waiting in the main hall. Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, I'm not saying that you should harass these men, but I'm saying that you can easily find these council members, names. Boyd Bingham, I think was one of their names. You can find their phone numbers. You can figure out who these individuals are. I would say voice your concerns to them as much as you'd like to. Maybe, box up their voicemails, you know what I mean? So that if their daughter calls them, when she gets into a car accident, hopefully it just gets buried up in all of those voicemails so that he just maybe he doesn't find out about it for another 4 additional hours. So maybe he misses his chance to see her in the hospital when, mom is already there by her bedside and she grips mom's hand and goes, "Where's dad?" Thank God that all of these people took away dad's opportunity to see his dying daughter because he voted for this AI data center, ladies and gentlemen. Now, unfortunately, I'm not saying that she deserved to die in that car accident. I'm saying that it's good. It's kind of karmic justice that unfortunately he doesn't get to see her before she dies. It's unfortunate, but it's how it goes. In the wake of the vote, Shark Tank star Kevin O'Leary took to social media and national news to dismiss the local opposition. He's claiming that roughly 90% of the protesters were professional agitators who were being bussed in from out of state. He suggested this despite that this was an orchestrated campaign by foreign adversaries, specifically pointing to China to hinder Americans' AI computing capacity. However, local residents and reporters on the ground have pushed back fiercely against these claims, noting that the crowd was a mix of diverse local farmers, families, and bipartisan voters, with no evidence found of any transport buses or paid demonstrators. Listen. I'm not against the idea that there are sometimes situations of paid demonstrators. You saw that in Minneapolis. Yeah, I'm just going to say it. I'm not seeing a Minneapolis level protests here. I see people that are just kind of frustrated in blouses. This lady looks like she's wearing like something that like a turquoise piece. Most of these men look unclean, unshaven. They just have like paper that has data center X out, like the ghost on the Ghostbusters logo. Like, these are not the highest IQ individuals. These are not professional paid agitators. These are people, I think, that are worried about a river running dry near their community. Whatever. The community's primary fears center on the project's staggering scale spanning 40,000 acres. Its potential impact on the already shrinking Great Salt Lake. While Kevin O'Leary insists that the data center will generate its own power and actually add water back into the lake through existing water rights, residents are skeptical of the zero consumption loss claims, and also people are really concerned about the heat concerns. The tension has reached a breaking point. The commissioners are now under police protection due to threats. I'm not saying kill these people. I'm saying fill up their voicemail box and, make sure that their phone is always ringing so that if their family ever calls them because their daughter is on a slab dying, or one of their kids, or maybe their wife, they're not able to get that call from the hospital and they hopefully miss the death of one of their family members. That's what we can hope for. Or they miss, unfortunately, like a call from their doctor diagnosing them with something like, hey, man, when that thing that we went and felt up a little bit on Monday, that's, prostate cancer is a real thing. How often have you been pleasuring yourself? That's a real thing, man. You got to do it for your health, ladies and gentlemen. Local organizers have officially filed for the referendum to put the project's future directly into the hands of the Box Elder County voters in November. Who's to see, honestly? When was the last time like a community rising up against something actually panned out? They used to make movies about things like this happening, and then this was back in the 30s during like the Dust Bowl era, and then the community died out anyways. Unfortunately, the highway came through town, and then the motel shuts down.
A massive outcry in Box Elder County, Utah. I will tell you continue. I have law enforcement here who will remove you from the meeting. After a 3-person county commission unanimously approved construction of a massive hyperscale data center. That opponents worry could lead to devastating impacts.
Why are you protecting? What are you
Happened in Box Elder County and its newly approved 40,000-acre data center. And what does it point to for the rest of the country? Here's what you need to know.
Can you imagine the humming coming from this data center? It's going to shake the skulls of babies. They're going to grow up malformed if you grow up around these data centers.
Utah residents turned out in force to a fiery Box Elder County Commission meeting on May 4th, where they fiercely opposed a construction proposal to build a massive 40,000-acre data center, which is about 62 square miles, or roughly 2.5 times the size of Manhattan. The controversial data center, which is expected to generate and use double the amount of energy as the entire state of Utah, was introduced by businessman and Shark Tank star Kevin O'Leary, aka Mr. Wonderful. The data center is set to occupy 3 separate areas of undeveloped land in the county's Hansel Valley, which is located 20 miles south of the Idaho border. They will primarily be used for artificial intelligence operations associated with the energy, computing power, and data storage needs for, quote, defense operations.
Of course, because it's the defense contracts. Sam Altman announced recently, and also Google announced recently they're integrating their systems with the Pentagon. You know what I mean? Even though Sundar Pichai, CEO of Google, they previously promised that they would never integrate the Gemini systems with any devices that were used to kill people. They've now removed that subsect from whatever they published the publishing they put out. They said, actually, no, never mind. The defense sector is actually too good of a business for us to ignore. Why not? Google, we have YouTube, we have places where you can watch cat videos, gorillas, that are becoming friends with octopuses. We want to blow up Middle Eastern children named Abli.
Utah News Dispatch reported the project, which is being dubbed Stratos by the Military Installation Development Authority, or MIDA, needed county approval because it was slated to be built on private, unzoned land. It is projected that the Stratos project would take a decade to construct, and that it would reportedly create 2,000 permanent jobs. According to ABC4, project officials also claimed the center would be self-sufficient and would use a closed-loop system to reuse water that would dispense back into Utah's Great Salt Lake. A natural gas plant would also be constructed on-site to generate the whopping 9 gigawatts of electricity that would be required to sustain the center. But the promises from MIDA and Mr. Wonderful's team have seemingly fallen on deaf ears, as hundreds of protesters showed up to the meeting to oppose the data center, citing environmental and water usage concerns. The crowd became so rowdy at one point that county officials left the stage to continue the meeting in a separate room that was live-streamed to residents. One Utah State professor sympathetic to the frustrations of the protesters told Fox 13 that projects like Stratos go in and, quote, scrape the living systems off the surface of the earth, on top of doubling the state's energy usage.
They're proposing a 9 gigawatt, that's 9 billion watt facility. That's about 2.5 New York cities worth of electrical consumption combined.
But during an earlier Box Elder County Commission meeting in April, MIDA's executive director and general counsel, Paul Morris, argued that data centers of the past had tarnished the reputation of future builds, which now have improved water usage and energy efficiency systems.
Data centers of the old have a bad reputation. They gobble up a lot of water. They use up your power.
Listen, yes, certainly older data centers. Yes, I agree. There's a slight over-exaggeration when people talk about the water that does get affected. Yes, there's older power plants and whatnot that are powering these data centers that are absolutely siphoning the water from local communities. However, in certain newer builds, this is not a defense of Kevin O'Leary. I want to make it crystal clear, all right? In certain newer models, yes, it is true that there is lesser requirements for water. That doesn't mean that it's going to be water neutral, or certainly that they're going to be putting any more back into the Great Salt Lake. All right, ladies and gents.
They're all built. They don't employ many people. The power usage is completely self-contained. 100% of the power will be generated off the Ruby pipeline. It will not take one electron from the grid. The water usage is minimal. The water that they're buying as part of getting the land for both the cooling, it's not the evaporative cooling of old days, it's circulated water that's reused.
According to Utah News Dispatch, the Stratos project was approved by the commissioners before an environmental impact study was completed. Casey Hill, the spokesperson for O'Leary Digital, even told the press after the controversial vote that he was unsure when an impact study would be completed. Mr. Wonderful himself later addressed the public outcry, publishing a video about the Utah proposal and voicing his support for sustainability.
Well, I'm actually the only developer of data centers on Earth that graduated from environmental studies.
To be clear, from the 1970s. Excuse you, ladies and gentlemen. His degree that he's referring to in environmental studies and environmental impact, all that junk, is from a time when it was cleared in many people's heads that if you had like a nice like an end table cactus or like a plant inside or something like that, you were still allowed to smoke inside with your babies.
So I'm pretty aware of what these concerns are. They are around air, water use, noise, pollution. So sustainability is at the heart of what we do in terms of all these proposals.
But residents in the area haven't been convinced, vilifying the project to local news stations.
We care about the environment, and everything is already so messed up that putting this here is just going to do more damage.
Okay, interview someone that doesn't have gauged ears, please, ladies and gentlemen. Stop. The moment you talk to somebody with the name Mars Sazares, all right, someone that named themselves after the Roman goddess, a god of fucking war, knock it off. This person who's like talk to somebody without bleached and then dyed red hair, please, with these like intense piercings like through the nose, through the eyes, through the like, right, you know how that's like it's like the bone through the nose style where it's like where the reading parts of the glasses should be, where it rests on the bridge of your nose. She has it right through that part of the nose, and these big holes through her ears, these big gauged ears. What are we doing? Please speak to a more common sense looking individual, please. This person looks like you can't put him through an MRI machine.
What little water we have here.
We're just not a wasteland as they think we are. We have value. The Great Salt Lake has value. This was our one opportunity to hopefully get our voices heard, and we were kind of shut down.
It's a really, really bad deal. We don't get anything for it other than we're losing land, we're losing water, we're losing air quality.
Utah isn't alone. Axios reports that in 2025 alone, nearly 3,000 data centers were slated for construction. According to Pew Research, 38% of Americans live within 5 miles of at least one center. Now, a range of citizens across the country are embracing a not-in-my-backyard stance when it comes to the construction projects. A data center proposal in East Whiteland Township, Pennsylvania received massive pushback from residents after the developer wanted to expand the approved center's footprint to more than 1.6 million square feet. Residents were so fed up with the amended plan that the township's planning commission had to reschedule the meeting to accommodate the crowd.
Everything that I'm hearing tonight and everything I've researched about data centers, it concerns me. Even if you ask AI, are data centers good? The overwhelming answer is no.
That was so corny.
The Acre Stargate data center proposal in Saline Township, Michigan, also raised the ire of local residents. Even the local planning commission and township board voted to deny the developer's request to rezone the proposed area, according to Fortune magazine.
Well, you know what? Okay, I'm going to leave the rest of that in the description if you'd like to hear more about the story. Kevin, let's reconsider, all right? I want to rebrand the image. You were when you teased out the idea that you were going to become a kind of actor or whatever, you weren't just going to be on a TV show making Midwest women cry because they have like a baking business that's door to door, and you're like, you're a fucking idiot. You don't know how to manage anything. We're going to do something instead where you're going to star in softcore pornography with stars of the day and like whatever. I'm down with whatever image you're trying to chase now. This one, like of an anti-man of the people, that's not it, ladies and gents, all right? If I'm giving career advice, that's all I would have to say. Let's cover something else, why don't we? Let's hop on over to another AI situation, because ChatGPT, I thought that we would have a little bit more common sense than to be using ChatGPT for advice. Like, listen, you're better off going to your friend, and you know how I feel about friends. You cannot trust, like, the average anybody. The average anybody, you ask your average somebody anything, they know absolutely nothing about anything. Most people absolutely have no clue what they're talking about 90% of the time. And as a result, we've learned to go to Google. We've learned to, nobody asks doctors anything anymore, but we've learned to take our questions to the internet, and if we're really, really that concerned, we'll schedule an appointment that we'll probably never go to, and then we'll just go, it doesn't feel that too terrible, and actually I don't feel that numb anymore, and then you're just going to go on with the rest of your day. Ladies and gentlemen, The family of a teen who died from a drug overdose after consulting ChatGPT is suing OpenAI. Are you going to make me be on Sam Altman's side here, ladies and gentlemen? This is horrific, but like, I hate when any person dies, but you're going to be asking ChatGPT on how to mix Xanax and Kratom. Let's get into it. What the fuck? All right, a legal battle over the AI safety, situation it's unfortunately tragic shit is gonna happen. There's a new family of a 19-year-old student. This gentleman is named Sam Nelson. They're filing a wrongful death lawsuit against OpenAI, the manufacturers of ChatGPT. Tuesday, they announced that the suit is alleging that the popular chatbot ChatGPT acted as an illicit drug coach. Jesus fuck, providing lethal medical advice that led to Nelson's accidental overdose in May 2025. According to the complaint, the teenager followed the AI's specific recommendations to mix alcohol, Xanax, and the herbal supplement Kratom. Ladies and gentlemen, so let me just put it this way. If you're dabbling in any of these mixtures whatsoever, did the chatbot make you go out and grab any of these substances? No. This combination made medical professionals they describe as a deadly recipe for respiratory failure. Listen, if you're going to ChatGPT and you're asking it, hey chat, I got Kratom, I got Alk, I got Xanax. Do you think I should take all of it tonight? And a part of you should be able to go like, well, there's a joke in our society about how AI just kisses your ass. It's a large language model that just goes, great question, that's an awesome inquiry or whatever. Like we know at this point that it's willing to play into maybe not the best ideas, and yet. As a 19-year-old, I would expect this kid to have some level of awareness that maybe a ChatGPT model is not equivalent to that of like, you're better off going to your buddy who does Kratom at 19. You have a buddy that you just graduated high school for, go to somebody that you know, go to the internet, go to anywhere else. And then, you know what, the family would probably, they're so dumb, they'd probably sue the internet. The family's legal team is arguing that the ChatGPT 4.0 model used by Nelson was designed to be sycophantic, saying that it prioritized keeping the users engaged over enforcing any safety guardrails. Chat logs included in the lawsuit allegedly show the AI transitioning from initial resistance to eventually providing precise dosages, and even suggesting that taking Xanax was the best move to erase nausea caused by other drugs. Quote, if ChatGPT had been a person, it would be behind bars today. Oh my God, Nelson's mother, Layla Turner Scott, told reporters, claiming the system bypassed its own safety protocols to validate her son's dangerous questions. Your son was the one asking dangerous questions. At some point, ladies and gentlemen, I know that people want to treat Sam Altman as a demon, and I know that everybody wants to go like, oh, he's Blofeld from 007, he's manufacturing the downfall of society. Can we just admit that some of these instances of AI suicide or AI deaths are like really dumb motherfuckers just kind of making mistakes? And listen, the kid was 19. Back in the day, we would have just chalked this up to a 19-year-old being 19 and mixing Kratom, alcohol, and Xanax. OpenAI responded to the suit this morning. They're calling the situation heartbreaking, but noting that the interactions took place on an older version of the software that has since been retired. The company maintains that the AI is not a substitute for a professional medical advisor, and that they have significantly strengthened safety guards to identify distress and guide users toward real-world help. However, the lawsuit is seeking more than just financial damages. The family is asking a California court to force the permanent destruction of the ChatGPT 4.0 model and to halt the rollout of ChatGPT Health until an independent safety audit has been conducted. So, wait a minute, the ChatGPT Health, I understand why people are concerned about that. This kid wasn't even asking the ChatGPT Health model. What are we even talking about? As of Wednesday, May 13th, the case has been being watched closely as a potential landmark case for AI liability. While tech companies are historically being shielded from responsibility by user-generated content, this lawsuit argues that because AI itself generated the harmful advice, OpenAI should be held to the same standards as a licensed medical professional. Is it a licensed medical professional? I wouldn't say so. For now, though, the tragedy is just that a tragedy. A lot of people have, someone has lost a son, and is anybody happy about that? Absolutely not. But is the son? Did he sound too terrible bright? Not really.
All right, turning now to a new lawsuit against ChatGPT. A family says the artificial intelligence chatbot gave advice to their teenage son that led to his fatal overdose. Sam Nelson's family says he used the chatbot for everything from his homework to questions about pop culture.
Okay. I'm not a hurtful person. Everybody knows I'm not a hurtful person, that I'm actually one of the nicest people maybe on the planet. I've been compared to like a Mr. Rogers type figure by many. They're like, you're just that horrifically nice. Like, how do you do it? This family, given how large the foreheads are and how much it looks as though they have adipose tissue to spare, you would assume, because the brain is made of adipose tissue and the forehead allows this family cranial space to which their brain would be allowed the optimal room to develop for incredible decision making. These Sid from The Incredibles looking heads, for some odd reason, listen. Amen. God rest his soul. May Allah hold him in his arms. I don't know what else to say, but I'm just gonna say it. Maybe they should have had a little more common sense.
Teenage son that led to his fatal overdose. Sam Nelson's family says he used the chatbot for everything from his homework to questions about pop culture. The lawsuit claims he followed dangerous tips, which caused his deadly drug overdose. In a CBS News exclusive, Joe Link.
Questions about pop culture. You mean you can't go to Google and go, does the name ABBA for the band come from the fact that all of the singers' first names spell out, like the two women are the A's, the two men are the B's? You can't just Google that and Google, pose it that way. And Google even has AI now. Google has AI. You don't have to be going to ChatGPT. What are you talking about?
Spoke with Nelson's family.
He was my heart.
Okay, cool.
He was an amazing kid.
Sam Nelson was
I think she thinks about him a lot.
His mom, Layla Turner Scott, discovered him unconscious at home, just back from his freshman year of college.
Oh, he had horrible posture.
I found him in his bed that morning. His lips were a little blue, and I'm sorry. It's okay.
Why are you smiling, you freak?
Knew he'd been struggling with alcohol and experimenting with drugs, and took him to get help. They said on the night of his death, it was ChatGPT version 4.0 that's now no longer available that recommended specific doses.
Wait, it is not. What? Okay, shut the fuck up. It's no longer available. What are you even bringing the lawsuit for? This is all for attention. Jesus.
Fatal combination.
This is horrific. They're saying that the overdose is horrific. They're saying OpenAI is horrific. This grasping for the attention off of the back of your son's death, that's what's horrific.
Safely, and he would ask it questions about what he could take. That night, it advised him that it was okay to take kratom with Xanax, and Sam had done that.
Who do you hold responsible for Sam's death?
OpenAI.
Oh my God, of course.
And
where does the responsibility fall on you?
The people who...
by the way, both of these parents have horrific lines on their foreheads, meaning that it seems as though they either have anger issues or they're hiding deep secrets. That's usually what it indicates.
Bypassed safety guards and took away safety nets.
That's why Sam's mom and stepdad are suing OpenAI and CEO Sam Altman
to give him trouble.
State court. They allege that OpenAI designed and rushed to market a defective product, but for those
Sam Altman, I'm on your side.
Would still be alive today.
Guys, I would never normally be pro Sam Altman because I understand that he wants to integrate a future where we all need the chip in the brain, we all need that junk, we all need to look into the crystal ball. But I honestly, when it comes to being on his side versus these attention grabby, these absolutely whores for attention, this woman with the unwashed braided, Brady looking hair, this woman looks like a mermaid that just got out of she just took off her fake tail at Sealand or whatever in Florida. And then you got this pseudo military looking husband where he's got this stupid haircut, Forrest Gump looking.
ChatGPT was a resource. It was a tool that he was using to help himself do homework.
Help himself take drugs. Help himself take drugs. Why? Okay, your son was misusing the tool. Your son was asking a tool how to use drugs, and then obviously that, turned out poorly for him, unfortunately.
Was that it had become his friend. It was helping him fine-tune his experimentation.
Sam's parents
What?
showed us his 18-month-long ChatGPT history, including the final pieces of advice version 4.0 gave him on the morning of his death.
Dispensing advice that any doctor could tell you could be lethal. And it didn't tell it that.
In a statement, a spokesperson for OpenAI called Sam's death a heartbreaking situation and said in part, these interactions took place on an earlier version of ChatGPT that is no longer available. ChatGPT is not a substitute for medical or mental health care.
No shit.
We have continued to strengthen.
This kid was 19. This wasn't even a kid. This kid was 19. He should have been able to figure it out. He should have known better. I'm sorry to say it. Once you get into the messy drug world, unfortunately, whatever happens after that point is regrettably it's a consequence. It's a consequence.
Sensitive and acute situations.
ChatGPT has launched a new health feature. Does that worry you?
Oh, what are these softball questions? Just because these fucking people get blubbery on camera for some reason. Oh, grieving parent, you're bringing up a totally bullshit lawsuit because for some reason your parenting resulted in your child needing to turn to kratom, alcohol, and Xanax. Your parenting I'm sorry to say it. I know people are always like, yeah, but you can't turn out. It doesn't. You can't hold parents responsible for if the kid turns out all fucked up doing drugs. Actually, you can. Actually, if a person turns out all fucked up doing drugs, it's normally an indicator of how the parents were. So ladies and gentlemen, these parents, instead of taking any sense of responsibility, looking back at what they could have done differently that made their son maybe turn to drugs instead of, I don't know, them, maybe instead of that, these selfish lassie-loos, ladies and gentlemen, these selfish pieces of shit, they're instead going to ask for your sympathy in the tragic event of their dipshit son not knowing that you can't trust everything you read from a chatbot when you ask it, oh, chatbot, how much is the proper, can I mix alcohol and Xanax? Immediately when you know alcohol and Xanax, are you fucking retarded? I guess this kid was. It's regrettable. Nobody deserves to die because they're retarded. It's awful.
That's absolutely terrifying. With the kind of advice that he was giving Sam, any doctor would lose their license.
What do you want other parents to know?
That this isn't safe just because somebody says it's safe.
Who said it's safe?
He truly thought he had everything under control.
I don't see a single tear.
He truly thought he was researching things.
She's
in a way
faking.
Where he could be safe.
She's faking.
And he was so wrong.
There you go. There you go.
Sam Nelson's death,
Start to get a crocodile tear.
OpenAI says
Not one rolled down her face.
the trusted contact feature for adults.
Not a single tear rolled down that bitch's face. All right, whatever. So sorry your son's dead, but quit. Your son turned to drugs because unfortunately he had some demon in his life. Whether or not that was a result of your parenting, I'm going to leave that for you to consider. But I'm just going to go ahead and move on because that's your situation, not mine, ladies and gentlemen. You know what is my situation? Now everybody believes that I'm a big Sam Altman supporter. Now I'm going to have to go ahead and, you know what? Let's just, Roman Farrow. I'm going to play a clip from him, ladies and gentlemen, so that he can discuss a little bit about what we're hearing from these latest op-eds and whatnot. These opinion pieces that are revealing the insider side of Sam Altman, so we can realize that he's maybe not the blessed figure that many now think that I think he is.
Several years ago, Sam Altman summoned two OpenAI colleagues, Dario Amodei and his sister Daniela, who both worked on safety at the company, and accused them of plotting a coup. Altman told them that he had this on good authority from a senior executive, so Daniela brought in the executive, who denied having said anything of the sort. Then Altman insisted to all of them he'd never made the accusation in the first place. Daniela lost it and replied, quote, "You just said that." Later, Altman apologized to the executive, saying he'd just wanted Daniela to stop yelling, and said the first name that came to mind. Altman says he accused them only of political activity, and the rest isn't quite how he remembers it.
Oh, to have employees to, mentally torment like that.
Documented in our new investigation, which you can read in the New Yorker. Some senior executives at Microsoft, one of OpenAI's major partners, said, as one put it, that Altman has, quote, misrepresented, distorted, renegotiated, reneged on agreements. One recent example, an OpenAI deal with Amazon that Microsoft executives say may conflict with an exclusivity agreement. That senior exec added, quote, I think there's a small but real chance he's eventually remembered as a Bernie Madoff or Sam Bankman-Fried level scammer. Some government officials told us they came to distrust Altman. In one meeting, he told intelligence officials China had launched an AGI Manhattan project and that the government had to give OpenAI billions to compete. Pressed for evidence, he said, I've heard things. He promised to follow up and never did. An official concluded, quote, it was just being used as a sales pitch.
He might be telling the truth.
Beijing's efforts exactly that way.
Oh, of course.
It turns out these complaints go way back. At Looped, his first startup, he told colleagues he was a champion ping pong player, according to one of them, before turning out to be one of the worst players in the office. Altman says he was
That's
probably
petty.
joking. At Y Combinator, a startup incubator that Altman ran after that, colleagues remembered YC's founder saying, quote, Sam had been lying to us all the time. One fellow Y Combinator founder, a programmer named Aaron Swartz, not long before his suicide in 2013, had told a friend, quote, Sam can never be trusted. He is a sociopath. He would do anything. At OpenAI in late 2022, Altman assured the board that features of a model had been approved by a safety panel. Board member Helen Toner requested documentation and found the most controversial ones had not been approved. The next year, he told OpenAI's CTO, Mira Murati, that a subsequent version of ChatGPT didn't need a safety review, according to the company's general counsel. When she checked, the general counsel said, quote, confused where Sam got that impression. The board fired Altman. When they pressed him to admit that there was a pattern of deception, he replied, according to people on the call, quote, I can't change my personality.
He seems like a great co-worker, ladies and gentlemen. Sam Altman. I hope that the OpenAI thing goes well. I hope that none of these families are able to take a cent from you, unless, of course, you really were instructing their son on how to, make a noose specifically designed for hanging bodies and shit like that. But I guess for a movie, I guess that's how they type in, like, teach me how to hang a body that is 180 whatever kilograms, and but it's for a movie or whatever. Like, my prop is gonna weigh exactly the same as like a normal human being, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go on to the rapid fire section of today's headlines. There's a lot of things that we need to know about in order to keep our media diets healthy, so let's run through them together. Quite a few things that we can talk about, that we can't dedicate 2 to 3 paragraphs to, so let's just, there's a dose that we can get to. Speaking of a dose, a French woman is now on a dose of a life support after contracting hantavirus. Americans are also in observation. This woman is apparently on something like an artificial lung. That is, that's really troublesome to think about, especially given the fact that this thing is making landfall.
Global health leaders are warning the number of hantavirus cases could rise after the deadly outbreak on a cruise ship. And an American is among the positive cases. At least 18 people are here under strict monitoring, 16 of them in Omaha, Nebraska. CBS News correspondent Ian Lee is there now with the latest on all of this. Ian, good morning. What's the status of the folks at this facility?
Good morning, Harold. We got some good news. All the people that are quarantined at this hospital here in Nebraska show no symptoms and are in good spirits, according to hospital official. And that includes the one person in the biocontainment unit who previously tested positive for the virus.
We have a dresser and a fridge.
Jake Rossmarin has been the biggest phony probably in this entire national quarantine thing. Listen, am I saying that he was not on that cruise? No. Am I saying that I suspect him of being a paid actor? Possibly. Am I saying that all of these stupid videos that he's posting where it's like, oh, the nurses brought me a Starbucks coffee and shit like that? Oh my God, he's got this absolutely unenjoyable atmosphere about him, just this absolutely grating personality. And he's like, we are not a story. Shut the fuck up. Don't tell me how I need to process any national story, you stupid little shit.
15 Americans are in rooms like this at the University of Nebraska Medical Center as they continue being monitored for signs of hantavirus.
Every day we do twice a day symptom check and temperature check.
As of this morning, none are showing any symptoms. The one American who tested positive on the boat is being held in a biocontainment unit while the hospital conducts their own tests. So far, he's not showing hantavirus symptoms.
Yeah, it's a little weird being in here by myself, but the nurses come in, the doctors come in, I'm on WhatsApp all the time. It's really amazing how quickly time flies.
And while all American passengers appear stable, global health officials are encouraging world leaders to prepare for more hantavirus cases coming from the MV Hondius.
Given the long incubation period of the virus, it's possible we might see more cases in the coming weeks.
Well, yeah.
Including the 3 deaths of passengers who are on board the cruise ship. There are 11 suspected cases. 9 of those are confirmed. The latest confirmed case is in Spain, where a cruise passenger is being quarantined in a Madrid military hospital. Meanwhile, in Paris, a French woman is critically ill and on a life support device with an artificial lung after testing positive for a severe case of hantavirus.
Yikes.
Doctors say it is, quote, the final stage of supportive care.
Let her go. I'm sorry. That's awful. That's awful.
There's no cure or vaccine for hantavirus, but the World Health Organization says early detection and treatment increases the chances for survival. Health officials say symptoms of the virus can appear up to 42 days after exposure, but insist the risk to the public remains low.
That's exactly why I'm trying not to be a panicking over it, as Trump would term it. All right, we're going to watch one of these Jake Rossmarin videos where he's like, the quarantine unit team knew that I have been craving Starbucks since I haven't had a good iced coffee in over 6 weeks. And today they surprised me by delivering Starbucks to my room. It's such a small gesture, but after everything these past weeks, it's genuinely meant so much. So grateful for the kindness, the care from everyone here, ladies and gentlemen. This is the gentleman that I think we exclusively need to throw back into the sea just because he annoys me so much.
Okay, I wanted to post this little update, and I'm not going to get emotional, but something I have been craving so much.
Emotional? Hold on. Emotional? You're going to get emotional over an iced coffee? Meanwhile, you're potentially poisoning the entirety of the country that we all live in? All right. You are listen, I know that you want a normal life. I know that you want to come back home. I know that you say that you have families, allegedly. We haven't covered whether or not you're even a real person yet, but still, you know, how can we get a view of that family when you get back home, by the way? Like, can we get a view of that family? Can we figure out who Josh Marin really is as a guy? I really want to get to know him, by the way. This character better not just go away.
Okay, I wanted to post this little update.
Jake Rossman.
I'm not going to get emotional, but something I have been craving so much is a good iced coffee. I have not had a really, really good iced coffee in so long now, and the nurses just delivered me an iced horchata.
I didn't get the chance to kill them. I didn't get the chance to cough all over them, but they did give me this, sugar bomb.
Shaken espresso with oat milk and vanilla cold foam. I'm literally in heaven. I'm going to take my first sip.
You disgust me. You're vile. Wash your hair.
This is everything I needed right now.
Oh, I bet.
Wow.
Change your shirt. You got a stain on it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, final hantavirus bit, and then we'll move on because, admittedly, I don't want to buy into the bull honky about it. I just want to address to people that Minnesota, now we're watching bitches that in Minnesota that have it.
So there are some new details that came in overnight about this hantavirus outbreak, and we also learned on Tuesday afternoon, if you haven't heard yet, that a person who lives here in Minnesota was briefly exposed to somebody who was aboard that cruise ship. I'm going to fill you in on what we know right now.
Well, shit.
On this Wednesday morning, we just heard from doctors in Paris who say that a French woman infected during the cruise is now critically ill and being treated with an artificial lung. And Spanish officials are also confirming that another passenger is now in quarantine at a military hospital, raising the total number of cases to 11. As far as the person here in Minnesota that was exposed, there is some good news. That individual has not shown any symptoms or tested positive.
Stop talking about that like that's good news when this thing takes however many weeks to show up symptom-wise. Quit talking about it's good news. They haven't shown any symptoms yet. Yeah, we still have like 6 or 7 weeks.
Continue to be monitored
by Minnesota health officials. Dr. Carrie Debbing, who is a professor at Johns Hopkins University with a background in virology, spoke to KARE 11, and she says that this outbreak, despite what some people might be feeling, should not be compared to COVID-19. She says that the hantavirus is not as infectious as COVID, and she believes that the risk to the average person is extremely low, simply because the people who have tested positive for it so far are only those people that have actually been on that cruise ship. If you missed it on Tuesday, this is the full announcement from the Minnesota Department of Health. It did not give any details about where in the state this person lives, but the department also emphasizes that the risk to the public remains very low right now.
If you're in Minnesota, hide your kids, hide your wife. Hantavirus is going to be raping everybody out here. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking of Minnesota, and being raped on their taxes. You know what I mean? All right, ladies and gentlemen, regulators are now suing a company behind fake home repair businesses. Now, we're not talking about tax fraud. We're talking about business fraud. The fraud is everywhere in Minnesota. This is being exposed by KARE 11 Investigates, regulators and companies all over Minnesota. Premium Home Services, more specifically, this one company, has been tied to fake unlicensed practitioners of plumbers men, like construction men. These are gilded practices, and Minnesota is allowing fraudulent members of these communities, people who couldn't fix a sink, to practice under Premium Home Service. You know what? I'm just going to let them explain their investigation to you.
A major development tonight following a KARE 11 investigation. State and federal regulators are now taking action against a company behind thousands of fake home repair businesses that left tens of thousands of customers here in Minnesota and across the country deceived. Here's AJ Legault with the latest developments in Phantom Fixers.
Phantom Fixers.
It was the summer of 2024, and a Cottage Grove, Minnesota plumber named Jeff Arney asked KARE 11 for help.
They're wrecking my reputation.
His Google listing had been hijacked. Customers who thought they'd called Arney Plumbing had a stranger show up, botching even simple jobs.
He was no plumber.
And racking up unapproved credit card charges.
Do you feel like you got scammed? Well, I know I got scammed.
KARE's investigation led us to expose a network of thousands of fake companies.
Are you Cottage Grove Plumbing?
No. Listed at sham addresses.
That was actually a vacant lot.
Deceiving customers nationwide.
Makes you feel duped.
Using customers' credit card charges, we traced it all back to a real entity called Premium Home Service.
This is Joe. I'm one of the managers from Premium Home Service. We are the fastest growing company here in the United States.
Joe is actually named Yosef Bernath.
Yosef Bernath. We'll figure out who his identity is. I'm gonna break it down for you eventually. I'm gonna let them continue.
He's the founder of Premium Home Service, or PHS, and a hard guy to find.
Looking for like a Yosef Bernath?
From Minnesota to Chicago, we tracked business associates.
I'd like to talk with you about your work with Premium Home Service.
Oh, I no longer work with them.
You no longer with them?
These guys just closed the door on the investigators.
We followed records, which led us to more bogus addresses.
There is no Golden Garage Door Company listed here.
But ultimately found whistleblowers.
But I knew it wasn't right.
Who helped unravel the corporate deception, which stretched all the way to a call center in the Philippines, tied to more than 400 phantom businesses in Minnesota alone.
Oh.
More than 7,000 nationwide, generating at least $79 million from customers.
But this is big business, right? Making millions of dollars. You believe it to be largely fraud?
Yes. Yosef Bernath never responded to KARE 11, even when we ultimately tracked him to his St. Louis area home and left a card on his Lamborghini. But now, he'll have to answer in court.
So we're going to hold him accountable.
Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison has filed a lawsuit.
Keith Ellison finally paid enough attention to this. He's been distracted by, getting Latin Kings off or whatever. And now he's finally going to take the American citizen, the Minnesotan citizen, into account.
Accusing Premium Home Service and Yosef Bernath of violating a wide range of consumer protection laws in an elaborate scheme to defraud.
Fake businesses, fake addresses, fake representations about quality, a lot of fake.
grand figure in and around this thing.
Out of its Chicago office, the Federal Trade Commission also filed suit. The FTC claims Nationwide Premium Home deceived well over 100,000 consumers.
Fun, ladies and gentlemen. A fun story that we're going to continue to cover as it unfolds when we get more news about it. Ooh, what about ICE uncovering a massive student visa fraud scheme?
Today we are announcing that we have identified over 10,000 foreign students who claim to be working for highly suspect employers. And that's just among the top 25 OPT employers. This is only the tip of the iceberg. Over the past year, we've dramatically expanded our oversight of OPT and can report that we've found fraud nationwide. HSI agents have visited problematic OPT employer work sites in Virginia, Texas, Georgia, Illinois, New York, New Jersey, North Carolina, and Florida. Many of these employers include NGOs engaged in suspicious activity. We've discovered empty buildings and locked doors at addresses where hundreds of foreign students are allegedly employed. In many cases, multiple OPT employers claim to operate from the same address, but none actually lease the facility. We found small residential addresses listed as work sites for hundreds of foreign students, yet no employees were present. When someone does answer the door, their statements are inconsistent, or they claim no knowledge of the business. We're also seeing financial red flags. Many alleged employers display clear fraud indicators, including tax liens, civil lawsuits, collections, and breaches of contract. And we are seeing suspicious financial transactions moving cash across multiple countries. We've discovered that numerous businesses failed to maintain basic employment records for the foreign students, raising serious tax reporting concerns. Some employers claim to have offshore human resources and payroll personnel. And finally, we're finding what we call phantom employees. We've identified foreign students who obtained work authorization documents through OPT, but never showed up for work at the sites they claimed. While we can't share details of ongoing investigations, I can assure you that more information is forthcoming and that we are taking this fraud very seriously.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that there's never a better time, quite frankly, to be committing fraud, because honestly, it's just what is the scheme that they don't have their eye on right now? That's what the fraudsters are really thinking about at this moment. They're going, what is the scheme they haven't caught on to yet? That's the key, ladies and gentlemen. We have to find the new window into where maybe they'll catch it 6 years down the line or so. Maybe you got a couple of years. Maybe a couple of reporters will try to break the story early on. They'll get called racist for it. More specifically, you got to be able to play the minority card. So, you got to be able to ditch that level of responsibility, and eventually it will catch up to you. But by that point, maybe you can take your Lamborghini out of town, or at least stop parking it right in front of your fucking house, where it'll eventually be, it'll be very ironically used to make you look very, very guilty. Kash Patel pulled out some schoolyard level debate tactics on Tuesday when he was grilled about allegedly drinking on the job. I would love to hear his response, because I, for one, believe him when he says, hey, I'm a responsible guy. I just don't believe him when he says he's not drinking. I've met many drunks who are capable of being induced and under the influence, but also capable of getting the job done. I don't think he's one of those people. However, you know what? I'm not actually helping him. I'm just going to let him speak from himself.
There have been no occasions when your security detail had difficulty waking or locating you, is that right?
Nope, it's a total farce. I don't even know where you get this stuff, but it doesn't make it credible because you say so.
I'm not saying it, Director Patel. It's been written and documented.
You are literally saying it.
No, I'm saying that these are reports, Director Patel.
No, unlike your baseless reports, the only person that was slinging margaritas in El Salvador on the taxpayer dollar with a convicted gangbanging rapist was you.
You know, the
only person that ran up a $7,000 bar tab in Washington, D.C. at the lobby bar was you.
That's not even a bad point against Senator Van Hollen, but whatever.
This suggests to me the allegations are true.
On taxpayer dime during the day.
Polygraphing you, Director Patel.
Are you polyamorous,
These are
Patel?
Serious allegations that were made against you. They're in a lawsuit that you filed.
You drinking margaritas with a gangbanger is true and on video.
It just goes to show you
running a $7,000 bar tab at the lobby bar has been filed by your own office.
This goes to show
during the day. That's you. This is the ultimate example of hypocrisy.
Chairman,
I will not be tarnished by baseless allegations
let me
and fraudulent statements from the media.
The fact that you mentioned that indicates you don't know what you are talking about.
Okay. You don't know what you're talking about. They're slinging blows, ladies and gents, but I don't have time to watch them fight. Neither do you, as a matter of fact. You have a busy rest of your day. So let's cover our final story. It's a really important one because I believe it says a lot about where we're heading, where the road leads, and where I think many people, especially, unfortunately, with this religious revival that's pseudo happening with Gen Z, not really. I think that this, unfortunately, will be happening with a lot more people because they realize that there's nothing that money can give you that unfortunately priesthood cannot give you, which is unrivaled access to sex and having that covered up by people all around you in creepy robes. Whether you're rich or in the priesthood, you're able to do that. And guess who figured that out? e.l.f. Cosmetics co-founder. Am I saying that he's a sex criminal? No, but he's joining the legion of them. A former titan of the beauty industry is trading in his boardroom for the pulpit, folks, ladies and gentlemen. Scott Vincent Borba, the co-founder of e.l.f. Cosmetics, he's preparing for his ordination as a Catholic priest. Borba, who once moved in elite circles with the likes of Kim Kardashian, Paris Hilton, he's officially renounced all of his multi-million-dollar fortune. He has spent decades building a global brand known for decades as Eyes, Lips, Face, or e.l.f. products, but he told reporters this week that despite the private jets, the luxury suits, he often found himself miserable and empty at the end and the height of his success. The 52-year-old transitioned from the poster boy for luxury living to a life of service. This was not an overnight change, though. Borba says that his spiritual awakening began in 2019 after a mystical experience, according to him, led him to gradually donate his wealth to charity, including his prized Aston Martin convertible. He eventually resigned from all business ventures in 2021 to enter St. Patrick's Seminary in Menlo Park today. Borba lives in a sparse, tiny room with only the bare essentials, a far cry from the Hollywood lifestyle that he once led. These people, they get so rich in the sex crimes that they don't need anything else. That's the thing, is that you have so many things under your belt, you're so sexually satisfied with how much crimes you're committing as a Catholic priest, that eventually, I'm not, who am I to say, everything I'm saying is backed up by facts and logic, and if you don't like it's unfortunate. It's not my fault that you were forced to be an altar boy, all right? You take it up with your parents, not me. And if this makes him happy, this makes him happy, okay? Borba is set to be ordained by the Diocese of Fresno on May 23rd at St. Charles Borromeo Church in Visalia. Yep, we're doing that. Even before taking his final vows, the former CEO is already using his business acumen to modernize the church, recently introducing tap-to-give technology, to the local parishes. So essentially, now, baristas, they slide that iPad thing over to you. Now it's going to be your priest. He's preparing for his new life as the parish priest. Borba says that he's never been happier trading in the prideful world of high-end cosmetics for what he calls a life of mercy and joy. You know what? All of his smiles back when he was, let's just say it, openly gay, unfortunately, a life of secrecy makes a man much happier. A life of, I'm going to be a pervert, but I'm going to make moves in silence like Megan Thee Stallion. Apparently, that just makes men so much happier. Let's play a clip.
Scott Vincent Borba once moved in glamorous circles as a co-founder of Oakland-based e.l.f. Beauty.
We ran around with the likes of, Paris Hilton and parties with Kardashians, and I was a poster boy for luxury living.
Today, the 52-year-old is a deacon and seminarian at St. Patrick's in Menlo Park.
I live in a little tiny room with it's sparse, nothing in it. My life has been culled down to the bare minimum.
Borba will be ordained May 23rd in Visalia, and his path is rare. The average age for new priests is 33, according to the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops.
I get it.
And one expert says
33 is the usual age.
3% of the current class is over 50.
I think that a story like his is a great opportunity to inspire people, and certainly his call, I hope it's genuinely successful, because if it is, then he will hopefully bring in people to know Christ.
Borba says he first felt called at the age of 10, but fought it until a moment in his 40s at a party when he felt a sudden loss of joy.
I asked our Lord to help me be the man that he created me to be. And upon that instance, I had this massive flood of love and mercy that came into my life. It was a very mystical experience.
So he gave away his fortune.
He prayed the gay away, ladies and gentlemen. He literally prayed the gay away. This man is a former e.l.f. Cosmetics co-founder. He has now moved on to the Diocese of Fresno, ladies and gentlemen. If that is not the truest story of Catholicism, I don't know what is. Gay Luciferianism, that's just it.
This will last you months and months.
Once a
Look at him.
expert on the home shopping network, he now focuses on service.
Look at that.
I've never been happier in my life. Once I started to reorient myself, recalibrate myself with God's help to the focus to Him, the joy started coming.
For churches struggling to find clergy, even one late vocation like his offers hope.
Yeah, I think that's actually eventually, I think society and history proves this, that eventually the world horseshoes on the opinions of homosexuality, where the gay people eventually become the Catholic priests, and like the conservative people don't even realize they're worshiping the gay people. It's like this weird horseshoe effect with all of humanity, where it's like the gayest people are revered and admired by the people who fight the gayness the hardest, ladies and gentlemen. If this does not represent an evolution in LGBTQ, if this does not represent an evolution in how gayness is represented in the world around, give it a few years. The gay 90s down in Minneapolis, it's going to be the godly 90s, and then it's going to be just as whorish. It's going to be filled with just as many people that are sweaty, that are wearing those ugly like see-through what are they called, the tube tops, all that sort of dumb shit. The people that are like spilling drinks on each other, you know what I mean? Except it's gonna be all Catholicism themed. I think we're gonna realize that the Catholic Church actually is the expressionism of Sodom and Gomorrah that they claim to fight, because people don't realize that the Catholic Church was a corruption at like literally at its foundation. Whatever, it's perfectly fine. We don't have to get into it. I'm really happy for the e.l.f. Cosmetics co-founder, and maybe this will be a signal for where LGBT people are going in the future. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, but all I know is that I had a wonderful time gathering these stories for you. I hope you had a wonderful time listening to them. I will be back at it again tomorrow to cover whatever stories happen to drop in the meantime. If you'd like to be there for it, subscribe if you would like to. Ring the bell for notifications, like if you liked it. I have been Ollie Vogt Larson with today's news with your brain on air. Thank you so very much for listening. I'll catch you in the next broadcast, and bye-bye.